Most landowners don't know that there's a very clear and formulaic way to get approved for a special use permit. Mine's in glamping, and I got it. The process seems mysterious, but once you see how it actually works, you realize the game is not about luck, it's about alignment. Hey, I'm Chris Jube. I'm the owner of Monument Glamping out here in Colorado, and it's allowed in my county through the use of a special use permit. There's things that are allowed on a property, things that are not allowed, but there's also things that can be permitted, and that's what I got. Now, when I first started, I had no idea that there was a whole regulatory thing that you had to wrestle with. Dealing with the county has been incredibly complicated. I thought it was all, opinions. Who likes your idea, how many neighbors don't. But then I learned something that changed everything. Every planning commission, no matter where you are in the county or in a municipality or a city or a town, they're all operating off of a specific checklist. There are 7 criteria to a special use approval. Now, these criteria have roots going all the way back to 1973. There was a court ruling that forced counties to justify their decisions based on logic and not opinion. You didn't have to become part of a good old boy club to be approved for what you wanted to do with your property. And today, there is a path to approval that's been written. You just have to write your proposal in the same language that counties, municipalities, cities, towns, whatever, will approve. And they have to approve. That letter is called the letter of intent, and I wrote a letter of intent. I share it with my membership. It's a document that moved me from a scrappy landowner with a few tents to be permitted to an expanding hospitality business that I have today. And just yesterday, I was consulting with another landowner, and he's got 40 acres, and 16 of them are perfect for development. He even has his own lake on his property. He can't wait to set up his one big, beautiful dome, but he wants to scale to 30. He thought it was a smart move to start small and then grow big. And in business, that's usually true. But in planning and zoning, it's actually the opposite. When you show a big vision first, then break it into phases, the county actually breathes easier and is more likely to approve you. It's kind of like they see that you've thought it through and then they approve. And that's because of these 7 criteria that I'm going to give you now. They are tried and true, and if you speak this language with your development and your private property, you're going to be approved. Criteria number 1, consistency with the comprehensive plan. Counties want to see that your project fits their big picture. For me, that was reading my county's comprehensive strategic plan and finding the exact phrases, things like expanding tourism, low impact lodging, and it matched what I was doing with my property. In your plan, literally quote those exact words back to them. You make the point that you're not fighting the system, you're actually working with the system. You speak their language, and they want landowners to be developing land the way they intend the county to develop. Criteria number 2 is compatibility with surrounding land uses. This is typically where neighbors come in and make a fuss over anything that changes. The question with this criteria is, does it fit the neighborhood? For me, I live in a rural residential property. I have 6.5 acres in kind of a sea of 5-acre properties. So when I was pitching Monument Glamping, I showed how it blended in with the existing landscape. Had to show the property, the 40 acres to my south, the 5 acres to my north, and what's across the street and the development across my creek. I also had to show that there were natural buffers and buffers that I would plant and build. I would keep quiet hours. All of this was designed to be respectful to the natural character of the neighborhood. You see, compatibility builds trust. And before that first stake hit the ground, I needed to show them that I had every intention to blending in nicely to the neighborhood. Number 3, adequate infrastructure. This includes roads, water, power, fire access, all those things that planners or city officials really care about. They want to be able to know that if there's a fire down at the creek, or if there's someone keels over with a health problem, an ambulance, a fire truck can get there easily. The landowner I spoke to yesterday, his land is raw. It doesn't have anything built on it, but he has electrical and he has a well that exists. I told him, hey, you got to find out what kind of well you have and the permit that you have on that well. So this is a great start, but it can grow. And I told him, document everything. Know your well yield. Get your septic tested. He needs to do a soils test. We talked through that. The point is that Infrastructure readiness tells the county that you're not just a dreamer, you're a doer. Criteria number 4, protection of health, safety, and welfare. This is where you prove to your guests and your neighbors and the county that you're safe. I had to show how we manage fire risk. My letter of intent had to show that we have fire extinguishers in each tent. Guests are told not to play their radio loud enough where a neighboring tent can hear them. And we do enforce that. We had to do a lighting plan also to make sure that light pollution didn't drown out the whole neighborhood. Counties love this data. And they love glamping, honestly. It's a very low impact development. But the more you demonstrate it in writing, the faster they say yes. Criteria number 5, preservation of property values and orderly development. Planning boards worry about projects that hurt property values. And honestly, there were a couple of neighbors who really thought they were going to lose all their life savings because I was putting a glamping operation down the road from them. But you can flip that narrative. Show how glamping, and it raises local value by drawing tourism dollars, keeping land open space friendly, and setting an aesthetic standard that others will follow. Number 6, conformance and ordinances. Now, chances are your land is not zoned for glamping yet. Glamping just is still too new of a concept. But you can show that your proposal stays within the spirit of the law. In my case, I had to demonstrate that I would comply to setbacks and road access and fire code. But I also fit into a specific special use allowance called a recreation camp. It's not technically a campground. It's more of using your property for recreation. And that includes overnight accommodations. Now, you might be accused of taking advantage of the county code, but you're really not. You're just in an industry that's creative enough to think outside the box and look at the definition of a recreation camp and go, yep, glamping fits that. That's the nature of our business in glamping. And a lot of different uses for land, for that matter. If we're turning our land into gold, sometimes it takes some creativity to figure out how to get that gold out of our land. Number 7, minimization of adverse impacts. Now, counties love applicants who think ahead. Things like landscaping buffers, quiet hours, I mentioned already, dark sky lighting, phased wastewater systems, they go a long way. In fact, I had a whole landscaping plan done where we said we'll plant some trees over here, we'll move some dirt over there, and we made a whole plan that figured out really what this end product will be. I have a lot of trees on my property, but I don't have a whole bunch. I'm not like living in a forest. And there's some natural buffers that I probably would have planted anyway, but the county wants to know ahead of time to help fit this 7th criteria. Now, every county, municipality, city, town, whatever you're in, whatever jurisdiction you're in, they see things differently, but the pattern is the same. Show them you're organized, you're thoughtful, you're aligned with public goals. You know, landowners think that they're stepping into a battlefield when they try to develop their property, but it's really just a checklist. Once you understand these 7 criteria, the mystery disappears. Hey, if you've got land and a dream, maybe a few acres, maybe 40 like my member from yesterday, and you're ready to turn it into something that generates income, I want you to join my group called Your Land is Gold. It's a great community. Inside, you'll not only get direct access to other landowners doing the same thing, you'll also get your very own gold file. This is a file that I create after our free hour of consultation where I consult you, where I develop a report for you that gets you kicked off in your next development goal. And for my buddy yesterday, he's got his 7-point plan that he's doing. I actually shared with him my letters of intent that I've written over the years. I've written 3 of them, and each of them go over the 7-point criteria that I just gave you. Because all land, I believe, has potential. You just need the map to prove it. So before you start building your glamping dreams, grab your county's strategic plan, learn these 7 criteria, and start building out that dream that turns into gold.